Welcome into my channel, guys. My name is Zillin, and today we're talking the Vengeance Juggernaut in Star Wars The Old Republic's 7.0 expansion, Legacy of the Sith. Much like the featured class from last week, Lightning Sorcerer, the Vengeance Juggernaut is in an amazing place in 2022. The class features top-notch single-target DPS by far and away the most fun and most powerful AoE DPS in the game, extremely good survivability due to numerous defensive cooldowns for almost any situation, and what I consider to be the most forgiving rotation currently in the game, making the Jug one of the top pick-up and play classes for this content cycle. So let's get into my favorite build for the spec. Keep in mind, as with all my class guides, this is by no means the only way to build or play this class. It's simply what I've found works best, and usually what I find is easily repeatable by the average player. If you have a better way, please let me know about it in the comment section below. I will be sure to try it out, and I'll even let you know how I did with it. So moving directly into this build, as is always the case with PvE DPS, you must always get your accuracy to 110% first. Once you've done that, due to the rather limited stat budget we currently have, almost all classes and specs will be built the same in terms of stat distribution, and the Jug is on that list. You will take your alacrity to 2054 and probably add 100 or so more for lag purposes, and then put the rest into crit. This will meet the alacrity threshold for the 1.4 second global cooldown and give you enough crit to make the class work in the way it was designed. Keep in mind, every point of alacrity between 2150 or so going all the way up over 5000 is completely wasted. Make sure to get over the 2150 hump, but then put the rest into critical. Once you've got your stats distributed correctly, it's time to start getting the right set bonuses, tacticals, and relics. As with pretty much all DPS specs in the game, the best relics will be Serendipitous Assault and Focus Retribution. Make sure you do not use clicky relics, but if you are into clicking, make sure to click the like button on this video. The first set bonus implant you'll need is the Fearless Victor package, which gives you 10% extra damage for 10 seconds after every rage spending ability. Since we'll be using a lot of rage spending abilities, this is effectively a permanent 10% damage boost. The second set bonus you'll want to grab is Champion's Precision Package, which increases your crit chance by 20% every time you use Blood Rage. Later, we'll be making some skill tree choices that will speed up how fast we get to the next Blood Rage, making this set bonus absolutely crucial. For tacticals, as is the case with most classes, you'll need two, one for single target DPS and one for AoE fights and trash. The single target option is Hemophilic Slash, and the AoE option is Cut to Pieces. Hemophilic Slash causes Ravage to refresh the duration on your three main dots and tick their damage. It's a notable DPS increase when fighting one target. Cut to Pieces lowers the cooldown of Vengeful Slam by 1 second every time one of your dots crits. With as few as just 2 targets up all the time, think Jarg and Sorno, this is a big DPS increase, and when there are lots of targets, Cut to Pieces does absolutely silly things. Now that we're properly geared and have perfect stat distribution, let's talk skill tree. At level 23, we actually have 3 viable choices, each with their own role. Shatterburst is mostly for when you're doing solo content, heroics, and dailies. You might find some very specific uses in group content, but not usually. Major Fracture will be your choice when using Hemophilic Slash tactical, and you'll run deep cuts with the Cut to Pieces tactical. At level 27, Projected Scream is simply the best option here in all scenarios. Set it and forget it. At level 39, Bleeding Offense is the only real option. Feel free to play around with Bleeding Pommel, but I haven't found any situations where it outperforms Bleeding Offense yet. At level 43, I run Bloodbound almost all the time. Much like the level 39 options, there is room for experimentation here. There might be some fights or areas of the game where Blood Rights is the better choice. Furious Power can make you more bursty and allow you to choose when to use that burst, but at the cost of a significant overall DPS loss. At level 51, Extended Roar is usually the better choice, but Warmonger can help on fights where mobility is needed. Choose accordingly. Hardened Defense is really the only choice at level 64. The AoE damage reduction is just too good. Get used to using Threatening Scream during high damage phases of fights. It can make a world of difference for your healers. At 68, I usually run Mad Dash for added mobility unless there is something I can reflect and mobility is not as needed. At 73, I run Crushing Fist when the heals are strong enough that I feel I don't need the added defensive cooldown, and through Passion when I notice the heals are struggling to keep up. One key thing here is that in add heavy fights where you are running cut to pieces, you will draw a lot of aggro, and through passion will go a long way towards keeping you alive. Moving on to the rotation, as I said earlier, I find this rotation to be the most forgiving in the game. A lot of people I know really struggle with rotations in MMOs because as soon as they have to break the rotation for any reason, be it target swapping, getting out of stupid, or some other fight mechanic, they don't know where to restart. This rotation does not suffer from that. You just pick back up anywhere and you'll suffer almost no DPS loss. Even if you get the rotation out of whack, as long as you hold to a couple basic principles, the DPS loss is minor. To put what is actually a complex 24 global cooldown rotation really simply, what you want to do is use these 3 abilities with a filler choice from these 5 abilities in between them. One of these 3, then one of these 5. One of these 3, and then one of these 5, over and over and over and over again until the end of time. If you can do that one simple thing, you will see minimal DPS drop off. I know this might sound overly simplistic, and the truth is that there are several little things you can do inside of this rotation to reach absolutely maximum sustained DPS. But you can reach very high numbers without those little things. It's why I call this the most forgiving rotation in the game. Oh, you had to get out of a red circle and got out of melee range for 3 global cooldowns, and now you're back at the boss and you have no idea where to restart? Is one of these 3 abilities off cooldown? The answer should always be yes. Okay, great. Hit that ability. Now, hit one of these 5 abilities, and then go back into your rotation. Yeah, there is technically a hierarchy for both your main 3 abilities and your 5 filler abilities, but you can do the main 3 in the wrong order for the whole fight and still put up strong numbers. You can make the wrong filler choice repeatedly and still be fine. If you're one of those who struggles after your rotation is broken for any reason, this is the class for you. Moving along to offensive cooldowns, this class only has 1, Blood Rage, which causes all your dots you have on all targets near you to erupt, causing damage and also giving you 6 rage. With our ability tree choice Bloodbound, every time a dot crits, the cooldown of Blood Rage is reduced by 1 second. The best time to pop this on single target fights is right after applying your dots Impale, Shatter, and Force Scream, and in AoE fights it's right after you apply those same 3 dots and then spread them with Vengeful Slam. Don't delay this ability too long as it is crucial to achieving high DPS. Defensively you have 5 cooldowns, 4 if you take Mad Dash over Saber Reflect, and each one of them is powerful when used correctly. First up is Endure Pain, which gives you 30% health and 15% damage reduction for 10 seconds and removes all cleansable effects. While the health and damage reduction are nice, that cleanse is the real shining star here. You should have your interface set up to show you when you have cleansable debuffs on you, and you should learn which ones are really bad. Nephra's Dot comes to mind here, and learn to use Endure Pain as soon as you get one of those debuffs. One thing to keep in mind here is that after 10 seconds, the 30% health buff you got falls off. Especially in group content where you are in voice chat with your team, it is customary to announce you have a fake health bar so the healers know to pack on the heals or expect a huge drop coming up. Next up is Enraged Defense, causing you to heal when you take damage for 15 seconds or 12 charges, whichever comes first. This is great when the hits you're taking are small or dot effects. Once again, Nephra's Dot comes to mind, and can actually heal you to full rather quickly. Then you have Saber Ward. This incredibly powerful ability raises your defense chance by 50% and absorbs 25% of tech and force attacks. Use this in anticipation of upcoming high damage phases of boss fights. If the tank dies and you need to take over for a while they get rezzed, or to slow incoming damage if the healers get behind. Then you have Threatening Scream, which we talked about in the ability tree section. Since you should always take Hardened Defense, which causes Threatening Scream to reduce all AoE damage by a whopping 60%, you could pretty much use this on cooldown on boss fights, as almost all of them do lots of AoE damage. Or you could save it and use it during specific times of high AoE damage, especially if that damage is otherwise unavoidable. Remember, it affects you and the people around you when you use the ability, so stacking before use can be useful depending on the boss mechanics. Last up is Saber Reflect if you've chosen it in the ability tree. All abilities that reflect are powerful, allowing you to fully skip mechanics or significantly increase your DPS, sending damage back at the boss. Describing all the exact perfect times to use this ability would take quite a while, so I'd encourage you to spend some time learning what you can reflect and what you can't. Eventually, you'll get the feel for it. When properly built, the Vengeance Jug is extremely easy to play, hits very hard, destroys large groups of enemies with ease, and has excellent survivability. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.